Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my series of CBAP practice questions. And CBAP means the Certified Business Analysis Professional certification. This video is going to be for questions 11 to 20. Last video, we looked at questions 1 to 10. The questions are all aligned directly with the BABOK, that is the Business Analysis Book of Knowledge Guide. My name is Harry Madusha, and this series is focused on helping business analysts develop the judgment and mindset for the CBAP exam and what the CBAP exam expects. It's not just focused on memorizing terms. The best way to use this video is to pause before each answer, select your option, and then compare your understanding with the BABOK-based explanation. If this series is helping your CBAP preparation, please like the video and subscribe. This will help YouTube to recommend this content to more analysts preparing for the exam. All right, let's continue our questions, and we're now going to the next question. Question 11. An organization is launching a multi-department initiative where numerous requirements are being produced in parallel by different analysis teams. Get my pen. So there are different business analysis team. Yeah. The lead business analyst is concerned about the overlaps, gaps, and contradictions across these requirements and wants a structured way to organize them so that they work together as a cohesive whole. So, what the lead business analyst is trying to do is a structured way to organize the business, to organize the requirements. So I just wanted to take note of that. What should the BA use to address this concern? Number one, individual requirements review. Now, my problem with um, the option A is that it says individual. We are looking for a structured way to organize the requirements from the various analysis team. So I will say a no to that. Requirements architecture. This is a very good candidate. So let me just put um, a check on that. This is a very good one. And what is the requirements architecture? A requirements architecture just provides a structured framework for organizing, relating, and integrating requirements so they remain consistent, complete, and aligned across complex initiative. Okay, so this is a very good candidate, requirements architecture, because it will help us to organize the requirements in a cohesive way. Option C, stakeholder validation sessions. Not necessarily. The problem is that we have different requirements by different teams, and we need to put them in a structure. And that is why an architecture, requirements architecture is good. So I will say not a requirement validation section. Process performance matrix, no. That's not just the answer. So I would the thing you should watch out for in this question is the structure and the organization. And that's why requirements architecture is the right answer. Let's check. Awesome. So we got that. I hope you got the same answer. Remember to always pause and see if you can and see how well you are also doing. Question 12. Which set of considerations should the business analyst prioritize when planning collaboration among stakeholders to determine the most effective way to engage different types of stakeholders? That's a mouthful. Okay, let me take that question again. Which set of considerations should the BA prioritize when planning collaboration among stakeholders to determine the effective way to engage? So it's a plan on how to engage stakeholders. Okay, so let's look at option A, stakeholder roles, um, availability and communication plan, stakeholder roles. Not really. We are planning collaboration, so I wouldn't say this is the right answer. Meeting delivery method, timing, frequency of engagement, and location. Yeah. So if you are planning collaboration, your location is important, your frequency of engagement is important, your timing is important, and the method of engaging those stakeholders, the meeting delivery method is also important. So I would take but let's check the other options. C, BA's expertise, experience, and facilitation tools. Not really, that doesn't answer the question. We are looking for a way to plan collaboration among different type of stakeholders. So your expertise is important, but it really doesn't answer that question. Option D, project scope, timeline, and resource allocation. I will say no to that. I will take the answer B. That sufficiently answers the question. Okay, let's look at what options are. Yes, good. So that's the answer. The answer is B. And let's go to question 13. In the process of affirming requirements for a software deployment effort, the business analyst aims to, so let me put here affirm requirements. The business analyst aims to discover situations that could impact the value generated by a requirement. Which method should the BA employ to uncover these situations? So they are trying to confirm requirements. The BA aims to discover situations that could impact value generated. Okay, so option A, performance tracking and measurement. Performance tracking and measurement. Not really. So let's move to the next one first. Risk identification, analysis, evaluation, and treatment. Okay. The BA aims to discover situations that could. Yeah, so that's a keyword there. Could. So it means that the thing has not happened. And that aligns with what a risk is. A risk is something that could potentially happen. It could be positive, it could be negative. So if you are trying to discover situations, risks are those situations that can impact the value of a requirement of a solution. So I will go with this, the option B. It looks very promising. I think I'm going to just cross out A. For C, data relationship mapping, no, this has not, the question has nothing to do with data. Chival document review has not to do with that. So the answer, the best option from what I see is option B. But let's check and see what the answer really is. Be awesome. So remember that risk analysis and management identifies and manages scenarios that could impact value. They haven't happened. So remember that could impact value. Okay, so let's go to question 14. Following the completion of information gathering sessions for a software rollout, yes, information gathering session, the business analyst needs to ensure the collected data is reliable and complete. He needs to ensure it's reliable and complete. Which resource does the BA consult to identify the relevant data origins and confirm gathered information? Now, remember, data here doesn't necessarily mean um, matrix. Data could be anything. It could be requirements. It could be models. So look at it from that perspective. So let's look at the options. Option A, knowledge retention framework. So what we are looking for, which resource does the BA consult to identify the relevant data and confirm gathered insights? Okay. Knowledge retention framework. No, I don't think it has nothing to do with not with retention. Project execution strategy. This knowledge retention framework is not even in the BABOK, so that's even a no-no. Project execution strategy looks like something in for that project managers use, so I'll put a note to that. Elicitation workflow outline. No, there's nothing like this in the BABOK. Business analysis plan. Now, I want you to take note of something. Believe this is the right answer. Now, for this exam, you need to keep the closest answer, the best answer among the options that answers that question. Not necessarily the best answer in your office or how it will be done in your organization. So you need to ensure that the answer you pick is answering that question, the way the BABOK expects it to be answered. So if you look at this, the business analysis plan is the best option on where you can identify relevant data origins, that's the source of data, and confirm gathered insights. So let's check if that answer is correct. Awesome. So that answer is correct. I hope you also got that answer. This is a very tricky question. It is a tricky question. I had to look at it very well too. So, but let's continue. It's all a learning process, and don't get discouraged if you did not get that. That's why we're doing this, to get better. Question 15. A leading retail chain has evolved into 17 stores, okay, nationwide, aiming to enhance its competitiveness in securing large-scale supplier contracts and improve overall productivity by reducing inventory costs and optimizing shared resources. This is a mouthful. Okay, so yeah, okay, let's move on. However, inconsistent technology systems across the stores obstruct, so they have various technology systems for this large organization, and it obstructs the collection of vital data needed for inventory management and resource allocation decisions. What potential engagement does this scenario highlight? Okay, so we have a store, we have several stores, 17, large scale. We are using different technologies, and because of the different technologies, we are having issues collecting data for the inventory management system. So we have different systems, different stores with different systems, and there are 17. We don't know if they all have 17 different systems. And when you have a lot of systems that way, it creates a lot of problems, especially when you are collecting data. So what potential enhancement does this scenario highlight? Okay, number A, or option A, improve availability of critical data. Now, the question is not about availability. So it's not like the data from each of these systems is not available. Is that we have inconsistent systems or inconsistent technology systems, and we have different data coming. So it's not availability. So I would say no to this. B, roll out a standardized technology solution. This is going to cost a lot of money. So you're going to roll out a single system, and that doesn't look like the intention or enhancement that can be done. This is just going to be a complete overhaul. So I would say a no to that for now. Design a business analysis, a business strategy blueprint. No. Um, Build a consolidated data storage system. Excellent. Yeah. So remember, we have different systems, different data. If we have a centralized data storage system, we can move all that data into that system. So that would be the right answer. We can use something called a source to target map that can help us take all that data, consolidate it, maybe into a big database like Oracle, and that will be the answer. But let's check what the right answer is. D. Excellent. So this situation describes a lack of an integrated information across 17 companies, and that is affecting decision making. But with a consolidated data storage system, that will be fixed. Let's go to the next question. A technology firm has secured a deal to deploy its software for customer. During the deployment, the business analyst is tasked with gathering details of external customer applications that will connect to the new software. So we have a new software and we have old legacy systems. And what the BA also needs to present this visually. To define the new system scope, the new software scope, the leadership team requires insight into the connected applications and the data shared between the existing systems and the new one. Which diagram type should the BA employ? Okay, so we have a new application connecting to legacy applications or external applications, and we need to visualize that. So remember, it says presenting them visually. Um, so which type of diagram can show the connection between two applications and also show the boundary? So let's see. A workflow. A workflow usually will show a business process. And right now we're talking about applications and their boundaries and interconnection. So I would say no to this. It can be a workflow. Context diagram. Yes, I will go with the context diagram, and that's because if you remember from the BABOK, the context diagram defines system scope and external interactions. So it just shows connected applications, their data exchanges, and also the system boundary. So the context diagram will fully answer this, but let's check the other options. Interaction flow. I am not comfortable with interaction flow. It might be similar, but it's more about user interaction. So that would be a no. Task sequencing. This just outlines the sequence of tasks, and it looks more like a business process or a workflow. So that will also be a no. So the right answer that I've taken is the context diagram. Well, let's see what the answer really is. B, context diagram. Awesome, awesome. So that works. So context diagram just shows the connection between two systems, internal and external, and it also shows the boundary. Let's move to question 17. A company has multiple software license agreements managed in diverse ways. A business analyst is tasked with collecting requirements. Okay, so the BA is collecting requirements to establish a unified management system. So, okay, what should the BA focus on as the first step? Okay, from this question, I really can't say. Let's read the options, then we'll take it from there. Um, A, propose a ready-made software tool. What should the BA focus on first? Propose, no. So the BA is trying to collect requirements or elicit requirements. So you shouldn't be proposing a tool. It's too early. It's too early. So I'll say no to that. Conduct a company-wide readiness evaluation. Readiness evaluation, not now, not now. We're still collecting requirements, so we shouldn't be doing that right now. Define the core business need. Exactly. Remember, when you are doing your strategy analysis, one of the important things to do is do your what? Your current state. Identify your current state. Understand your current state before you start talking about your future state. And that is what um, a and B are talking about. They're talking about the future state, but C is talking about the current state. Understand the needs. That is what is most important. Defining the needs will guide how elicitation should be done. Then D, describe the envisioned future processes. This is talking about the future state again. So the right answer is D, because the first thing to do before you collect requirements is to understand your business needs. So that will be option C. Let's see. Awesome. We got that. So that's option C. I hope you are getting the why the right and wrong answers are correct or incorrect. And I don't want you to get discouraged if you are not getting it yet. That is why you need to do this. Pause the video and take it back again. See the reasons why I gave. And I believe that if you keep doing this, you start getting into that CBAP exam mindset and also the mindset of the examiners. So don't get discouraged. Just keep going on. You are doing good. You are doing great. And I believe that as you practice these questions, you'll be ready to pass your CBAP exam. Okay, so question 18. A healthcare appointment scheduling system is currently being developed. Which event would prompt the business analyst to reevaluate the prioritization of requirements? Okay, so we have a system that is being developed. Which event will prompt the BA to reevaluate? So we already have the requirements, but what will make us change our priority? So we have requirements one, two, three, four, and we've prioritized them as one, two, three, four. What will make us now prioritize three as one, one as two, three and four? So what will make us reprioritize? The project budget is reduced by 10%. No, that will not cause priority. Of course, that is good for a project budget is reduced. That's not so good, but that will not cause us to reprioritize, not necessarily. So let's look at other options. Option B, a new stakeholder requests additional reporting features. Yes, I'll just put a dot on that for now. Let me see. The development team adopts a new testing tool. No, that will not affect reprioritization. A new government healthcare policy and regulation is announced. Yes. Remember, I always say, if you are working on any project that is born out of a regulatory demand, or you are working on a project that a regulatory demand will impact, those regulatory requirements take high priority. They automatically shoot up. They become the highest priority. And because of that, I would say B is not the right answer. So the right answer is D, because we have a new government healthcare regulation. So remember that healthcare regulation can introduce new compliance requirements, and that's why they are very critical. So I'll pick answer D. Let's see. Awesome, answer D. So let's move on to 19. We have just two more questions, so just hang on there. We have two more questions. A key business leader overseeing a project to automate a critical high visibility process is worried that certain human performed tasks, okay, so let me just note this, might be omitted. So they are scared that certain human tasks might be omitted, and those tasks high visibility. Okay. The business analyst has already mapped out the workflow and documented the requirements in a comprehensive model. So the BA has already documented the requirements. Which steps should the BA take to address the leader's concern? Okay. A. Tie the workflow to the project overarching objectives. Nah, that was not gonna fix. That's not gonna answer that question. B. Log the leader's concern in a risk tracking system. No, so the leader is worried about something. So that the leader is worried means that is a potential issue, or that is an issue that the leader is already worried. So it's already an issue. So it cannot be a risk. So it's not like the leader could be worried. It's that the leader is worried. So there's a problem right now. So I wouldn't log it as a risk. That is already an issue that needs to be treated. Conduct a stakeholder review session. I like this. I like this because that gives us an opportunity to meet with that leader and understand what their apprehension is, understand what the problem is, and we can have a discussion on that. So, and you can then show them your documented requirements. B, revisit the finalized elicitation outcomes. No. So it is conduct a stakeholder review session. Let's see what the answer is. Awesome. Great job. Great job. We made it to question 19. Let's keep going. We just have one more question. And I just quickly want to say, if you've not liked or subscribed, if you like what we are producing, it's like the video and also subscribe. And you could share with your friends that are planning on writing the CBAP certification or want to learn how to do their business analysis work a lot better. So let's look at our last question. In the process of defining business requirements, in the process of defining business requirements to streamline a workflow, a business analyst has developed workflow diagrams. So the B has developed workflow diagrams from different perspectives. Stakeholders have noted inconsistencies among the diagram. Okay, there are some inconsistencies that have been noticed, leading to confusion. What can the BA use to ensure these workflow models are consistently interconnected? So we have diagrams from multiple perspectives, but there are inconsistencies. So we need to connect them together. We need to look at them as a whole. Okay, first option, requirements architecture. I will go with requirements architecture, but you just don't decide what the answer is just because you feel the first option is correct. So let's look at the other ones. Stakeholder role mapping. No, this does not help with um, uh, interconnecting requirements or interconnecting models. So let look at the question says consistently, which model will consistently, which models ensure these workflow models are consistently interconnected. So for interconnecting models, it cannot be stakeholder role mapping. Desired process outcome, no. Organizational structure diagram, no. The right answer is the requirements architecture. And this approach defines relationship between workflow models, ensuring consistency across user perspectives. But let's check if that answer is correct. I believe it should be. Awesome. Requirements architecture. Awesome. So we made it. We made it to question 20. So this is we've just done question 10 to 20, and that wraps up for this series of 11 to 20, sorry, 11 to 20. And if some of these questions challenge you, that's a good sign. CBAP is designed to test your judgment and reasoning, not necessarily your speed or your memorization. Take a moment to review the incorrect options and why they are wrong, because that's where most exam mistakes are made. So don't just say, okay, fine, we noticed the answer. Why will this is the right answer and this is wrong? Why was it wrong and why was it right? And if this video is supporting your CBAP or ECBA preparation, please like the video and subscribe. It helps the series to reach more business analysts who are preparing for the CBAP exam. I will see you in our next video where we'll be looking at questions 21 to 30. Thank you.